You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Great to have you with us today. Dreary day here in upstate New York. I got to tell you, it's already about 75-ish, and the humidity is probably 6,000. I don't think it can go that high, but it's awful. It's rainy and sticky. Yeah. It's going to be that way for about 3 days. Yesterday, we kind of dodged the rain. We had a nice little cookout. Not really a birthday party for me, but little cookout we had and had some fun. You'll see a picture of me on my personal Facebook page. My wife asked me to smile. I really thought I was beaming. Check this picture out. If I have it, I'll try to pull it up. Sometimes the phone will, as I plug my phone in to charge on my computer, downloads all my photos. Maybe we'll try to pull it up later. A good morning to everybody watching on TGI Sports Talk's Facebook page or YouTube page and live on National Streaming Sports Roku channel. Get those channels downloaded. I promise you that. And there's an ad that Mac did for the CEO of National Streaming Sports that I posted on my page and even boosted it for him. Check it out. There's a lot of great content, and even more shows are joining, it seems, every week. So that's good stuff. And we'll be live. We also share to a bunch of groups like the Bottom Line Sports with Flo and Ken and the gang over there. They do some great stuff. Greg Rawlings does some wonderful stuff with America's Pastime. The Love for Baseball. He does some good giveaways I don't think it's on a regular schedule, and he does a podcast, all audio, probably on Apple and Spotify and whatnot. You can check him out. And you get the name of that podcast on his group. Great group, by the way. There are tons. If you're a baseball fan, there are hundreds of former Major League Baseball players and umpires that belong to this group. Greg does a great job. And then, of course, the sports authorities with John Gonzalez, one of our favorites, always has been. John pops in often and contributes on the show as well, which we certainly enjoy. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. He does some great stuff out of Pittsburgh, including the Sports Corner with Smoke and Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Ralph often pops in and says hi at least and does a little bit of he'll comment here and there as well. And lastly, I guess a shout out to Larry Sorensen, a great friend of the show. One of the early interviews I did back when I started doing this podcast 4+ years ago. And Larry's been a contributor to the College Football Huddle every year since, and a good friend of the show. And he came on. We did our one-on-one with him, talked about his career a little bit on Friday, and also talked about Major League Baseball and all the things wrong with it, which we'll maybe dive into a little bit more today. We had a spirited debate a little bit about not so much one of the topics that I brought up, which we'll talk about today, and I'll get into some of the conversation starters. But again, it's your show, guys. We go where you go this morning. So thanks to Larry and that. I'll talk a little more about it. Our spirited debate was about the top 5 players in Major League Baseball. Just throwing out, it was off the cuff. It's very subjective, right? And I made a note here to kind of, if we want to revisit that, if we want to, is it fair? Because one of the arguments that was brought up was steroids and whatnot, which is fair, totally fair. But is it wrong that I should be able to say, yeah, well, they had steroids, but there were a lot of advantages guys in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s had that players today don't have as far as being able to compile statistics. Anyway, we'll talk about that more. So thanks to Larry for coming on Friday. Our guest this week will be Sidney Moncrief, former Arkansas Razorback great in college basketball, and certainly had a tremendous NBA career with the Milwaukee Bucks. That Bucks team was really, really good, but couldn't get by the Sixers or the Celtics in the East. That never got to an NBA final. Great, great team, coached by Don Nelson out there. And then we'll have Ernie DiGregorio on the 20. I'm sorry, that's the 30th of August. Hello, 30th of August. 23rd, City Moncrief. 30th will be Ernie DiGregorio. Good morning to Dave Guyette. Sorry, Dave. Dave up in Amsterdam, New York. Rick Sherlock. Good morning once again. Congratulations to Rick's brother Bob, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, on his induction into the National Semi-Pro Football Hall of Fame. I know Rick mentioned that on the Big Football Show that I was on from 8 to 8:30. Good point, too, guys. Besides the shows that I do, right? Just to do a quick reminder, and I got a comment about Facebook in a second. You can catch me Wednesdays on the National Streaming Sports. I don't know exactly what we call that show. The National Streaming Sports National Podcast. And also on the Mac and Jack Show Friday mornings, and also the Big Football Show on Sunday mornings. I'm on 8 to 8:30, both Friday and Saturday. So good morning to Rick and good morning, Danny. And yeah, Danny. And Danny, I've said before, dedication. We got a lot of great followers. We just said good morning to a couple of them. And there's a lot more that'll pop in through the morning this morning. But Danny might be the most dedicated, as he's up at 5 and 5:30. God bless him. We'll continue on here. A couple of topics I wanted to bring up. Let me say this about Facebook first. Please, Facebook, with all the nonsense and crap I see on Facebook, you stop me from sharing to the groups that really want to see my content. The content you put in front of me that's crap, I've got to see. I don't have any choice. Yes, I could scroll past it, which you can do, by the way. I don't find it offensive, to be clear. I don't want to see it. But you block me from sharing to my groups who want to see the content that we see. So my viewership gets cut, by 50 to maybe I would say 75% the last week, because you determined over the last month I've shared too many times. So John Gonzalez and Greg and Flo and any of you other great groups, we'll start mentioning more of them. There's a few that are really, really good. Ken Krause and Golf Buds. The full name of the group is not coming to me at the moment, but Ken Krause is a guy I promised to mention. I want to help him grow his group. It's a little much smaller than the other ones, but he does some great stuff, but he's a good friend of the show. But they can't get my content. So, again, more reason to come and follow me directly on TGI Sports Talk, which we'll keep putting out there. But, Facebook, you guys, you suck. I'm sorry. You just do. I know we went through this when you took my page down for a month 2 years ago. I guess it was 2 years. Maybe it was 3 years ago. I don't remember when it was. But no explanation, no telling me who complained or whether it was one of your bots. It's just stupid, good grief. Anyway, that's my rant about Facebook for now. Baseball talk. Here's the topics we can get into. We can get into any topics. Here's a couple conversation starters. We talked about that top 5, very subjective in Major League Baseball. If we want to continue that conversation a little bit this morning, we can certainly do, and we're going to weave out of conversations like we always do. But again, is it fair for me to say, well, yeah, we can take steroids into consideration, but what about all the advantages guys had before 1958, right, where they didn't have to travel past the Mississippi? They didn't play night games. There wasn't specialized relief pitchers. You didn't have guys throwing 100 miles an hour at you the entire game, game long. Is that right? Grammar. So again, there's a lot of you can position these things any way you want. I'm not saying the steroids is okay, by the way. We can talk about Judge. Judge gets a 300, the youngest guy ever to get there. But I'm seeing some crazy projections about how he can catch Bonds. He's 32 years old. He'll be 33 when the season starts next year. Getting to 600, I think, would be very, especially considering Judge's injury history. Getting to 600 would be quite an accomplishment for Aaron Judge in my mind. I do think he's got a shot of getting there. 550 to 600 is very realistic. But can I expect him to hit 60 home runs for the next 5 years until his contract runs out? I doubt it. What else did I want to talk about? Expansion. I think that's off the table. I saw a little bit of something in that regard. I was watching the news this morning on the local, and they brought up expansion and talking about Austin, Texas. The expansion's a long ways off, and Major League Baseball shouldn't be considering it. Can you read that? DeGrom coming back too late. He's going to start a rehab stint. Rangers are 11.5 back in the West, 12.5 back in a wild card. I think they're dead. White Sox continue they cut their pace to 123 losses from 124 since we talked on Friday. Wish I could read that. Major League Baseball. Oh, the innings. The 6th inning rule they want to put in. Rumors are Major League Baseball wants to put a minimum requirement of starting pitcher pitching 6 innings. We know how I feel about pitchers and not throwing enough, and I want to see them go deeper into games. I don't want it mandated. It should be done because it's the right thing to do, and not because the league tells you to do it. Because while I think I want to see pitchers pitch more, if they get hammered, I don't want to leave an ineffective guy in there either. It's just stupid. We have rules. We have issues in Major League Baseball that we can fix. Lower batting averages. Teach the guys how to hit correctly. Don't put in rules eliminating shift and all these other nonsensical things, right? We want to see an increase in stolen bases and hit and runs and whatever. Don't put in the rules that shorten the base pass, make the bases bigger and shorten the base pass, and then limit the number of times pitchers can throw over. Stop putting in rules to artificially mask the problems that we have in Major League Baseball. Please. Anyway, that's just a couple of things. Quick note, Steve Garvey, former Dodger, and every year we seem to have a guy in sports that's running for national office. Not national office. I guess it is. He's going to be he's running for the New York U.S. State Senate or U.S. Senate. He's getting killed by Adam Schiff, and listen, Republicans aren't going to win in California. Danny probably knows that. He's down 20 points as far as I know. Wish I was out in California. I could vote for Steve Garvey. NFL. Steelers quarterbacks awful yesterday, both of them. They got some big problems. The rookie quarterbacks, they expected to start. Williams and Daniels play well. It's exhibition. We have to, put a little we have to put that little asterisk in there. Who else? Daniel Jones off to a rough start. Raiders quarterback competition continues. Drake May did play a little bit better yesterday, back to the rookies. Cutdowns coming this week. Are we going to get to see any more starters play? Because cutdowns from 90 to 53 are coming after week 3, exhibition week 3. We got to do better preparing guys to play week 1. I know you need to evaluate guys, but do it in practice. The game should be to get ready to play game 1. We're going to see awful football in all of September again because these starting quarterbacks and starters at all positions have not got enough reps in preseason. It's crazy. Matthew Jujon traded to the Falcons. Good trade for the Falcons. I think, given the situation, a good trade for the Patriots to get a 3rd rounder. I think they got another conditional pick as well. And RG3 and Sam Ponder fired by ESPN, I think for different reasons. We can talk about that. By the way, in baseball, we can certainly talk about Ohtani, the 50-50 chase, first player to get to 50-50, trying to do that. On Friday, he was on a 49-47 pace. NCAA football, Ohio State has picked Will Howard, no big surprise, transfer from Kansas State to be their starting quarterback. The Deion Sanders and Colorado hype is a little less this year, and I think the expectations should be pretty low. We talked about this on College Football Huddle. Shooter Sanders is, ranked one of the top quarterbacks coming out next year. I'm not sure. I know how good he can play. He's played behind a horrible offensive line. I get it. But this team's not going to win 4 games. They're going to win 4 games again this year. I went through the schedule, and we can do it again because I know a lot of you wouldn't have been on the college football. And then Mac brought this up to me. I didn't see it. And I'm going to get to your comments here in just a second. Just trying to prime you guys a little bit for some things that are interesting to me in the news today. We can talk about any of them or other stuff. I still don't see this. I'm going to have to dive into this topic a little bit more. Apparently, the Group of 5 conferences are talking about having their own tournament, which wouldn't include the best team in Group of 5, by the way, because they'll be in the 12-team playoff, and some other lesser teams from the SEC playing in their own tournament and naming their own champion, and nobody cares. We talked about, I know Danny mentioned, as I was saying, the midseason tournament in the NBA and how stupid that was. The NIT was brought up by James, which is a good comparison, but the NIT's become kind of irrelevant, I think, in college basketball. But anyway, we can talk about any of that stuff. Oh, we got Chris F. Graves with us. He said he had a couple of gems for me this morning. And good morning to Paul Spada. Good morning to Drew, I see out there. But let's see real quick. That's all I got for now to say hi to. Got 2 people up here, 2 people in. Good morning, Chris. Anyway, what do you got? Eric Bolton played a quiet 15-year career, an extreme 4th-line power forward. Chris finds these innocuous, if you will. I don't know if that's the word I want to use. Hockey players. Can you think of another 4th-liner that made captain? Jeff Odgers is the only other name I can think of. I can't come up with one name of 4th-liners that were captains on any NHL team. I off the top of my head, not a one. Maybe the assistant captain, right? But I can't think of anybody else. Any other hockey fans? And we'll throw that one maybe out to James Beringer, see what he's got. But listen, I have tasked Chris with finding us some interesting footnotes in sports in general, and he's done a great job. Good morning, Paul Spada. Who would be your first pick in a college football fantasy draft? What if you had to pick 9 out of 10? What if you had to pick 9 out of 10? Who may be available? Wow, that's a great question. I gotta believe, the quarterbacks are going to go early. Again, I would assume quarterbacks are going to go early. If I'm picking 9, Dylan Gabriel's going to be gone. Carson Beck could still be there. I would think quarterbacks will be at a premium. I would think in a college football, and then they're not always in the pros. Wide receivers, at least in the drafts that I do, wide receivers are often at a premium. I mean, yes, the Patrick Mahomes of the world, guys who are going to run for touchdowns are important. To kind of put some teams, and I may come up with some names as we go forward here. And it's a great question, and maybe what I'll do, Paul, is I'll make a note of it. Please pop in. I hope you can pop in Wednesday night, and I'll do a little bit more research. But that's a great question. And it's hard, right? Because again, you'd have to think what the how the league would be set up, what the scoring would be. But my guess would be dual threat quarterbacks are going to be great. If we're just talking about great quarterbacks, I mean, I would think I would take a great quarterback. Like if a guy like Cam Rising is available at 9, and he might be. I love Cam Rising. He's coming off sitting out an entire season with injury at Utah, which is why Utah is a bit of a sleeper for the playoff. Cam Rising's a guy I can think of, might still be there at 9. Shedeur Smith, by the way, Shedeur Sanders would go early. He'd be one of the top 10 picks. He might be one of the first 5 picks. He might be the first pick. He's going to put up great numbers, even behind a trashy offensive line. Great question. I did want to bring this up, and I made a note of it and skipped over it, Drew. But as I complain about Major League Baseball and lack of starting pitchers going deep into games, Luis Severino, former Yankee, pitches the first Met shutout. Probably ought to get an asterisk because it was against the Marlins, but they've actually struggled with the Marlins, so maybe that's not fair. I wanted to see how many pitches he threw in this game, Drew. I was trying to look at it earlier, and you might have it in front of you already, but I'm going to try to find the box score and find out. 4 hits. Let's see his Severino, 9 innings. They let him throw 113 pitches. Good for him. Only 1 walk, 8 Ks, 4 hits. Well pitched, great game. Why can't we see more of this? I'm not saying you got to throw guys out there for 150 pitches like we did in the 70s. Nolan Ryan seemed to survive okay. But Nolan Ryan's a freak. I get that. But there were lots of guys. Go back and look at innings pitched in the 70s and tell me these guys aren't. I'm not going to say what I want to say there, which is unusual for me. But yes, congratulations to Luis Severino and the Mets. And I want guys to do this. But again, to the point of Major League Baseball suggesting that they're considering implementing a maximum 6 innings, that's just stupid. I don't want a rule to fix something that is systemically wrong in baseball. We don't get pitchers prepared to even pitch more than 6 innings. I can't see the players' union probably going along with this anyway. And then they talked. There was some talk too, all peripheral to this whole conversation, and we talked a little about Friday, with Larry Sorensen Friday morning. That they're considering changing the rules for how a pitcher can get a win, lessening it to 4 innings. Again, baseball is a game, and I don't care whether you believe it or not, but it's true. Today, it's a game of nonsensical numbers that make 0 sense. You can make an argument any way you want to make the numbers say whatever you want, right? But the history of baseball, statistics matter, real statistics, home runs, RBIs, statistics people can get their hands around, right? Get their heads around. Counting statistics that, again, sometimes do they matter as much as we think they do? It really doesn't matter because what has driven it, maybe today's baseball fan doesn't care. And maybe I'm just getting left in the dust because I'm old and I don't understand. But until I can't do this anymore, I'm going to keep screaming at the top of my lungs. Numbers matter. Baseball's always been about the records, the home runs, the RBIs, the batting average, the stolen bases, the wins, the save. Well, the save's not so much as, again, that's changed so much. But now you're going to lessen, because I say nobody's ever going to win 300 games again, ever. Well, the chances get better if you're going to lessen it to 4 innings pitched or worse. Anyway, we can talk more about that. You're absolutely right, Dave. There's not a one that I can think of that really makes sense. I kind of had my head around the pitch clock a little bit because games need to be sped up. But if you're not going to improve the quality of the game itself, and yeah, there's more running, but it's artificially created because of the shortening of the bases, and maybe more so the ability to throw over to first base twice. Just stupid. But with the pitch clock in shortening games, Yankee and Tigers the other night, Friday night, I think it was, the game was over at 9:05. God bless them. I love that. But if I'm just watching boring baseball on a shorter period of time, And not all games are boring. I'm not trying to say every game is boring, but a lot of the way the game is played is boring. I'm glad they're running more. Don't put in rules to do it. Just get managers who don't freaking read off a freaking index card or a pre-approved script from their GM. So, yes, I can't think of a rule that isn't ruining baseball because they want to turn it into a video game experience. Go play a video game then. I'll say it again. You guys probably get tired of hearing me saying it. I used to say all, but you should never really use those types of absolutes. Nearly every rule change since 1968 has been to favor offense. I'm okay with well-pitched 2-1 games. I would like watching Luis Severino pitch a 9-inning shutout. And the Mets playing well behind him, which I think they did. Did they make errors in this game, Drew? One error. 2-1 baseball games, well pitched, well played on either side, and having to use some strategy to get a run across because every run is imperative, is exciting baseball. To baseball purists. Not to y'all young kids, and sorry for all you young kids out there. I hate to disparage a whole group of you, and maybe it's not all of you. You learned baseball from a video game. I learned it from playing it. God. Oh, my God. Danny, 6 innings is a joke. The actual talk is if a pitcher gets to 80 pitches or gives up 4 runs, he can be replaced. Regardless, the actual, again, yes, I know that there's some stipulations, you don't have to leave in 6 innings. The point of bringing this up at all is absurd. Baseball knows there's a problem that starting pitchers need to pitch longer. The approach is not to put a rule in. The approach is to get teams to go back to the way the game was played when it was exciting and strategic and not just home runs, base on balls, and strikeouts. Oh, yeah, we do have stolen bases now because we put a silly rule in to artificially inflate that number as well. So, yeah, that's the thing. And it puts me in a weird situation because, yeah, I sit here and scream week after week about pitchers not pitching deep into games. That's that stat I gave you the other day after Snell pitched his no-hitter, and he'd only gotten 5 outs from the 7th inning on in his career. That might have been after the 7th inning. So I apologize. It's still absurd either way. 9-year career, he'd gotten 5 outs from this after the 7th inning. I read it as 7th inning on, so I'm not sure I'm correct in that. Either way, it's absurd. So I know it's weird. I'm making that argument, and then I'm against this. But I don't want rules to fix what should happen organically. Just stop, right? Danny, amazing how Californians continue to vote demo, and it's almost amazing how bad it's as. Don't get me going. I'll tell you a funny story. It is bad here, Danny. The amount of money they've taken out of my pocket in 40 years is ridiculous. But I'll tell you a funny story. On my birthday, my stepdaughter called me to wish me a happy birthday. It was calling me. I didn't know that. I saw a call from New York State at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I don't answer calls from New York State unless they're calling to tell me, here's all your money back. Please move to Florida. Please move to South Carolina, Tennessee, someplace where they're not going to, someplace where they're not going to encourage people to come in to get abortions and I need to pay for it. Sorry, I just had to throw that little scheme. We're not getting into a big political discussion, but I thought it was funny. Anyway, I ignored the call. And then I get a call 2 seconds later from her number. And And she sings me happy birthday at the end. So she goes, happy birthday to the person who just ignored my call. I won't answer calls. I'm sorry. I don't answer any calls I don't recognize the number. If your contact isn't in my phone, I don't answer your call. And New York State, you can call me forever. I will never answer your call. Now, if Lee Zeldin were the governor or something, I thought he was calling me, I would, but that's not going to happen. There's not going to be one person in New York State government that I'm going to want to talk to. Vikings fired Ponder's. Yeah, should have fired Ponder's husband. I don't know what's going on at ESPN. I thought RG3 didn't do a bad job. I don't know. I mean, Sam Ponder, I know Sage Steele, who I think got fired by ESPN last year, says that Ponder was a cancer behind the scenes. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I would say she's probably a better broadcaster than her husband was a quarterback. Kristen Ponder, if you don't know, former, I believe, Florida State Seminole, and later Viking, and I don't know where else. He played somewhere else, too. Good point. J.J. McCarthy out for the year. Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins. Some talk about them bringing in, who did I hear? Maybe Drew knows this. There was some talk. Who did they? Gosh. And there'll be some quarterbacks available after the cutdowns, Rick, but I don't know if it's anybody that I could have sworn there was somebody, and I know in one of the groups I got no. Oh, Matt Corral they signed. That's not going to help, by the way. But there was another. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to get it because maybe it was a BS situation. Yeah, don't know who it was now. But this is going to be a long season. If you guys think, unless Sam Darnold somehow becomes Geno Smith from 2 years ago, it's going to be a long season for the Vikings. Sorry. JJ, and I think this would have been a good year for JJ to play and get his feet under him. And you might have seen a Mac Jones rookie year type season out of him, which, by the way, was very good. And then the coaches kind of screwed him up, which probably won't happen in Minnesota. You got a great quarterback coach, a great offensive minded head coach who will not, who at least so far doesn't have ego issues. Danny, Chris Fgrave, and Paul Spada, a couple of legends. Guys have certainly joined great additions to our regular peanut gallery for sure. Quarterback, they would score the most points, I'm sure. Again, I think a guy like Cam Rising would be a guy I would hope would be there at 9 and I could get, because I'm not getting Dylan Gabriel, right? I guess I could get Carson Beck, but while he's going to win, I don't know that he's going to put up the video game numbers that a Dylan Gabriel is going to put up at Oregon, right? Cam Rising should have put up some really good numbers at Utah. There's some other guys too. Will Howard may have a exceptional statistical year at Ohio State. And that's the thing too when we're talking Paul. And it's hard because again, I spend my time here talking about quarterbacks or any players, right? And how they how valuable they are to their team. And it's not always about the numbers they put up. When we're talking about fantasy football or baseball, it's only numbers that we care about. And so I got to get my head around because my mind goes, who can best help teams win? Well, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me if their team goes 0-10 or 0-12, I should say, in college per se. As long as their numbers are good. And I'd probably having a quarterback whose team was always behind would be great. Hyun Jin Ryu, I'm sure I said that all wrong. Hyun Jin Ryu, pitching healthy in Korea. He should be. He's making 1.8 billion yen. And he's still 45 years old. Former, I think he pitched with your Blue Jays, did he, Chris? What is 4.5 I got to know how much that is worth in like real dollars, because, well, I know real dollars it is to him. Hold on. 1.8 billion yen. Am I going to find out it's like $40,000? $12 million. God bless him. So teacher, I think he's a lefty, right? That sounds wrong. I think he's a lefty, correct? Again, I say teach your kids to be lefties. They can go pitch in Korea and make $12 million a year. I would think that, yeah, all of the first picks and however many teams there are should be a dual quarterback. And there's plenty of them in college. It's not like the pros where you got Lamar Jackson, and maybe a couple other guys that are going to be dual threats. But I wouldn't take them number one, maybe even with a first round pick in an NFL fantasy draft, which the TGI Sports Talk draft is September 3rd at whatever time. I think we're done now, Anthony, changing the date. If you played last year and haven't confirmed, I haven't seen anybody confirm with me. Few of you have. I think Anthony's confirmed, I would think, with his questions. I don't know that the 12 or 14, whatever we had in there last year, are all in. And I'm not sure how we get them out, CA, which I don't think CA is with us yet, unless he's got a comment here later. So I don't know. Make sure you confirm with me or CA, I guess, that you're in. Absolutely want a dual threat. And I think wide receivers I'm waiting on because there's tons of good ones. Right? Is my music still playing? God, I don't know how you can hear it. I don't hear it at all. That's funny. It is up just like one tick. Thank you, Drew. I appreciate that heads up. Question for me. Major League Baseball is consist, Dave Guyette. Yeah, that's what we were talking about here, Dave. I think you got here's the rest of his. I've already kind of touched on this already. I'm sure I'll be talking about this a lot in the coming weeks here on this show and on the Major League Baseball update. But that is the rule. That is what they're talking about doing. So actually, Major League Baseball makes a rule that the pitcher only pitch 6 innings. That's not what they're talking about. Oh, you're talking. Maybe you're talking about something different. Because the rule isn't maxing the pitcher out at 6 innings. He can go 9 innings, but the rule is saying that he needs to pitch a minimum of 6 innings, unless certain things happen. As Danny pointed out, there could be other things as well. Give up so many runs, give up so many hits, throw so many pitches, whatever. So if they make a rule they can pitch only 6 innings, the pitcher has a perfect game in the 6th inning, then the pitcher does not get a perfect game. Well, if that was going to be the rule, that'd be correct. They do not. Because as we know, back during the COVID 2020 season, or I think it was 2020, it could have been 2021. I went ballistic when Madison, I think it was 2020, Madison Baumgartner, they had put in a rule for doubleheaders were all going to be 7 innings. Because, nobody could throw 9 innings during COVID. That was just ridiculous. Yeah, I don't. Anyway, Madison Baumgartner throws a 7-inning no-hitter, but they won't credit him with a no-hitter. Still has not been credited with a no-hitter, and likely is never to get credited with a no-hitter. Just stupid. If you tell me the game's only 7 innings long and I pitch a no-hitter or a perfect game for 7 innings, then I should get credit for it. But in your scenario, Dave, if they put a rule in where a pitcher could only pitch 6 innings, which that is not what they're proposing, by the way, then no, they wouldn't get credit for a no-hitter. Today, if they pitch 6-inning no-hitter and 4 other pitchers were to come in and complete that perfect game, a perfect game would be attributed to no one. It would be going to the record books as a perfect game, but you see that all these pitchers pitched in it. They need to learn what a strike and a ball, again, if they don't do better. And listen, here's the thing. There's only overall, if we can trust the ratings that the league puts out on umpires for balls and strikes, a lot of these guys are like 95% correct. That's very good, by the way. When you got guys throwing a ball 100 miles an hour and it's moving all over the place. But there's a handful of guys that make them look bad. And those handful of guys are going to drive people like Anthony to say, well, we need automatic umpires. I'm not putting words in your mouth, Anthony. I'm using you as an example. Where the majority, and again, I feel bad. I've mentioned this before. My good friend, Dale Scott, former Major League umpire, who was a member of Greg Rawlings' America's Pastime, the Love for Baseball, left the group because there was so much umpire bashing going on. And I would do some on this show. And I sent Dale a note asking him not to drop out, which I'm sure Greg did. Because I would bash certain guys like, we know who. But I explained to him, I thought the majority of guys did a great job. He did a great job. Jim Joyce, who had one of the most infamous missed calls in history with Galarraga pitching losing a perfect game on the last out of the game at first base, it was a very good, if not great, Major League Baseball umpire. But did you remember for one blown call? I don't want to see more. I don't want to see robot umpires. I don't want to see automatic strike zones. I want less replay. I want less, I guess just like I want less government, I want less freaking overreach from the lords of baseball who don't know anything about the game, Rob Manfred. You can't replace, and the human error is okay. I'm okay. Memorable moments in baseball would be lost forever. I asked Brett Saberhagen about that Don Denkinger call in the 85 World Series. Would anybody remember this series between the Cardinals and the Royals if not for that blown call that helped? Did not necessarily win the World Series for them. They still had to score runs in that inning, and they still had to win Game 7. So, yes, it was a contributing factor. But we wouldn't even remember that World Series. And Brett Saberhagen agreed with me 100%. Less over. I don't need you overreaching and changing rules, putting in automated systems. If the umpires are bad, get better umpires. If the strike zone needs to be, again, there is a strike zone, by the way. I was never one to really think, okay, well, that's his strike zone. So, umpires have their own strike zone. Heard that for years. Call the strike zone. And I know it's not easy because you got guys who are, 6'8" like Judge, and you got guys that are 5'6" like Altuve. It's hard. We're fired up today. We know how to get fired up and have some fun, though. By the way, I got to take a ride after the show. Stream of conscience. I ordered some new shoes. I'm going to dress sneakers, guys. I'm done. I watch the guys on the pregame shows in the NFL. If I turn them on, they look great in $5,000 suits and these cool dress kind of sneakers. That's it. I'm done. You'll never see me in a dress shoe again. Not that I have to wear them much anyway, but I gotta go pick them up because I ordered them and I had them delivered to our old address, which when we first moved last June, I was doing all the time. Those poor people. So it's the first time I've done it since like last August or September. We got to take a ride down East Greenbush and get my dress sneakers. Complete joke, 6 innings. Again, I can't add to that, Paul. It's ridiculous. Danny, much rather a 3-2 game, 2-1 game, 1-0 game. I don't. In 9-8 games are boring as hell. You're seeing bad pitching. You're seeing bad fielding, most likely. Lots of walks. I'm okay with more. I'm okay with a 9-8 game. 9-8 games are going to happen. They shouldn't be the norm, which they aren't the norm. I understand. But Major League Baseball thinks, batting averages are low. Well, stop saying, well, pitchers can't use spider tack. We got to eliminate the shift. Batting averages are low, not because pitchers are that overpowering. We're not talking about Sandy Koufax or Drysdale or Gibson anywhere, Seaver, anywhere in this. There's some great pitchers. There's nowhere near the number of great pitchers that there were in the 60s and 70s and maybe before. Nowhere's near. So stop legislating because batting averages are low that we need to help the hitters. How about helping them by coaching them how to hit? There's a novel idea. And by the way, and then if they play good fundamental baseball, these 3-2, 2-1, 1-0 games Danny talks about are very exciting for people who enjoy baseball. If you're a fantasy baseball player and just want to see your guy, the guys on your team hit home runs and again, fantasy sports, and I play them. Fantasy sports have hurt real sports a lot. I know people think they help them. And maybe they do. They bring a fan in that maybe wouldn't. But the people I have played with through the years, most of them are diehard baseball fans. But you don't watch the games the same way. I don't care. I'll be very upfront. And if anybody, Drew or Greg or, I'm not in this league. I was in the same league for 37 years. With the same guys, basically. 11 to 12 guys the same way. I would tell all of them, I have never changed the way I watch the game. Never. I've never rooted against my team because I wanted a guy to hit a home run so I could win in fantasy. I could give two craps about fantasy, whether it's a free league or leagues where I paid $350 to get in it and the prize money was about $5,000. I didn't care. I want my team to win. I will never watch a baseball game based on what my fantasy roster looks like, ever. Fantasy players can tell me, well, that's stupid. Why are you doing it? I feel like I can do both. Again, that's the thing. It's very interesting. The human mind is an interesting thing. It can do more than one thing at a time. And if I lose, I lose. Drew gets on me for picking in his pick. I take the Patriots every week. I will take the Patriots every week this week. I don't give a crap if it costs me 10 losses. And if you don't understand that, I'll never convince. I don't think I'll ever, again, not to pick on you, Drew, but I'll never convince Drew why I do this. Never. I'll never root against my team. Never. Not for any reason will I root against my team. Not because I want to win a pool. Not because I want to win. I could have won a $5,000 halftime score in 2001 Super Bowl, 2002 Super Bowl, actually, 2001 season. If the Patriots hadn't scored at halftime, but if they hadn't scored a touchdown before halftime, they may not have won the game. What do I care most about? $5,000? I'll blow that. It'll be gone. That championship is there forever. That's me. I'm a sports fan. I don't care about the rest. That's why I don't bet money on my team. When I gamble on teams I don't care about. That's just me. If I lose this pool because I take the Patriots every week, I don't care. And again, it wouldn't matter to me whether it's cost me money or it's free. I don't care. But I'm playing just for bragging rights. That's me. And by the way, fan is short for fanatic. And any fan who roots ever against his team, I don't care if he thinks they should tank to get a better draft choice, is not a real fan in my mind. Oh, you could be a fan of the game and do what you want. I don't care. But don't tell me you're a fan of a certain team and you root against them for any reason. I am fired up today, right? I don't bend on that even a little bit. No, Sam Darnold probably would have started, yes. But I think J.J. McCarthy was likely to play at some point. And I do think there's a very good chance that J.J. McCarthy would have started very soon compared to, say, maybe Drake May, who didn't play badly. But Drake May's not starting week one. J.J. McCarthy probably will be a better quarterback than Sam Darnold sometime this year would have been. And maybe this ends up being a good thing. He gets to watch a first year from his sideline. I don't know. But I can tell you this, unless Sam Darnold, I've seen the best of Sam Darnold, and the Vikings aren't making the playoffs with Sam Darnold at quarterback. Unless he has some kind of weird Geno Smith renaissance. Pat's jettison Matt Judon, and probably for good reason. Listen, I love Matthew Judon. He was he's a great defensive player. Had a great first half. His first year with the team, he had a great first half. 2 years ago, he got hurt 2 years ago while the playoffs are still within reach for the Patriots. He played just 3 games last year, and that defense was still very good. As bad as the Patriots were last year, they were in virtually every game because the defense was really good. Without Matthew Judon and without Christian Gonzalez, their number 1 draft pick, who was playing great at cornerback before he got hurt. So yes, you don't not miss. You don't not miss. Does that mean you miss him? Anyway, you're gonna miss a player as good as Matthew Judon. Good for the Falcons. As I mentioned, I think at the top of the show, or maybe I was on the Big Football Show before I started my show. Good for the Falcons. They need a defense in Matthew Judon if he plays, because he missed 9 games last year. He missed 3 or 4 games the year before at the end. And he tends to fade at the end of the season anyway. And I do know these things because I've watched him play every single down of his Patriot career. So they got a 3rd round draft pick. There's some conditional pick tied to, I think, whether he plays enough games. I'm not really sure, but I'm happy. He needed to go. He wasn't happy here. They offered him a 1-year extension. That wasn't enough. Again, I'm fine. I don't want guys that don't want to be there. Good player, good teammate. He'll be missed, but sometimes it's just time to move on. The NFL, do they carry the rookie code like Major League Baseball? Carry bags, at least one, last one off the bus? I don't think to quite that extent. Because you guys are making a boatload of money. They do still have certain rituals. Like if you're watching Hard Knocks this year, they've had to get up and they have to do a little performance before the whole team in the meeting room and whatnot. That stuff has gone on before, but I don't. And a good, by the way, I'm talking about, I guess it's just the top picks. There could be very well a rookie code for lower draft picks. Lower draft picks that have to, are given some of these rookie code chores, and maybe it's still done. Gardner Minshew and listen, oh my God. I know Captain Jack Levy, he thinks that whose shows are also on national streaming sports. Thinks that Aiden O'Connell is really good. Oh, Aiden. Listen, he played a couple good games last year. Gardner Minshew has played some exciting football games through the course of his career. Gardner Minshew has never taken a team anywhere. He'll play some bad games. He'll play some good games. He'll lead some great comebacks. The teams aren't going to get maybe they'll get to the playoffs. By the way, the division is really good. I don't think the Raiders are going to compete with either one of these guys at quarterback. How they weren't drafting a quarterback is beyond me. And I can see why Devontae Adams wants out of there. There's CA. Blessed Sunday to you, too. I mentioned CA earlier. I'm not sure how we're going to know. I know you asked people to verify if they were back or coming back into the TGI Sports Talk Fantasy Football League. So, guys, if you haven't, let CA know. Please do. Because I'm unsure, CA, if guys aren't competing. Like, I know we had one guy get in to fill the last spot. I have no idea even who was. I don't know if he watches the show. Just clicked on the link. I have no idea. I never did find out who it was. Jay something or other. What was I going to say? So anyway, if you please confirm, because I don't know how we're going to remove guys and get new guys in if we need to do that, if we should need to do that. And for those of you who are interested in the pick, I know Kenny. I don't think Kenny's been with us. Hope Kenny's doing okay. Maybe he's been traveling. I haven't seen Kenny in any of the shows this week, so hopefully he's doing okay. Kenny was asking me to send him to pick him. I hadn't set it up yet. I've still been debating how I want to do it. I was considering. He wanted me to do two, one picking with the points and one without. I'm not doing that. I think I'm either going to do just straight pick a winner, or I may do it with confidence points. I'm not sure. Confidence points can be complicated. Maybe guys don't want to do that, but I haven't gotten much feedback except from Kenny. So Paul likes the Hit Fest games. Again, that's fine. Everybody likes what they like. I mean, I don't think. And I'm okay with a well played Hit Fest game. A 9-8 game is fine. It shouldn't be. I shouldn't be seeing, 15 runs scored, in more games than less. And we probably aren't based on, based on some of the statistics we see. Drews points out there in the Major League Baseball update some of the low batting averages and low on base percentages, and I talk about that. But teams don't. You get these 9-8 games. There's not a lot of fundamental baseball being played in these games. Listen, a 2-1 game can be boring if it's not played well. But baseball, it's never going back to where it was. I'm foolish to think any of the sports that I love, whether it's baseball, football, college football, are ever going to be what they were when I was growing up. Don't have to convince me why you always pick the Pats. I have no problem understanding why. I just like to give you a hard time. That's fair. That's fair. So now that I know you're only kidding me, I don't have any reason to answer. Vikings coach made for how many games? I'm not sure. I mean, again, you're a fan, so you should be optimistic and look for reasons why this isn't going to be a lost season for the Vikings. I've seen too much of Sam Darnold, and I know Dobbs was not certainly a all-pro quarterback. But what were their record with Dobbs last year, Rick? What was his name? Josh Dobbs? I don't remember. Dobbs. QB record. Were they winning those games? That's what's important. Joshua Dobbs, he's 8-13 in his career. Let's see what he did. Let's see what he did specifically with the Vikings. He won. How the hell do I tell whether they won or not? What's this record? Okay, so he won. He's 3-2. 3-2. If I go the entire season, what is that? 9-8. Are they making it to the? That's not 9-8, is it? Maybe it's 10-6. I don't know. It's hard to do math on the top of my head. I like Dubes. I wonder if he did that on purpose or not. He'll make him a serviceable quarterback. I mean, again, and by the way, Dobbs got progressively worse as he went on. And again, he was 3-2. He was 8-13 in his career. By the way, at the same time, what's Sam Darnold's record? I can't look. He played for bad teams. Whatever. Dobbs played for a good Pittsburgh team too before, by the way. Somehow he's 8-13. We'll see. That's why we play the games, right? 11 confirmed. Okay, good. Let me know who we haven't heard from, I guess, CA. Is that 11 out of 12? Did we have 12 or 14 last year? I don't remember without looking at it. So if that's one person, I'm going to guess it's that the J person that I don't know who it is. And if it's 11 out of 14, let me know who the three are. So Jay lefted. Did he say he was leaving, or we just don't know? Okay, so we need at least one person, one new person, guys, and we decided, I think, to go to as high as 14. So we can take between 1 and 3 new people. Speaking of pick'ems, Kenny's been having any internet issues. Ooh. That's a prize up there on the mountain. Drew, you got to have more to go along with this, don't you? Speaking of pick'ems, there wasn't more to go with that. Honey Badger, I think Zappy is going to get traded. Good to have you, Honey Badger. I don't know whether you've been with us before, so welcome if you haven't. And if you have, I'm sorry, I don't remember. We got a lot of people, new people been coming in and out, and it's great. I mean, I love the participation and the new participation that we've had over the last several months. It's been really, really fun and exciting for me. Zappy's going to get traded or released. I think there's very little doubt about that. He's the 4th string quarterback right now. Joe Milton's outplayed everybody in camp, but there's very little doubt in my mind that Jacoby Brissett will start week 1. And then you got to battle us from week to week, who will be second in the depth chart. And at some point, I guess, if Drake May continues to progress, you may see him during the year. There's even the outside chance that Joe Milton will eventually emerge as the guy who's the quarterback. It's possible. Patriots struck lightning in the 6th round one time, and Milton played well has played well in camp, but he didn't play well the other night. And I know he was playing with a bunch of guys who'll be delivering beer in 2 weeks, but some of it was on him too. I don't know why Mayo brought Zappy in to for the 2-minute drill Thursday night. I don't get. I mean, what's the point? I think he played a lot in the first exhibition game, and I think, to your point, Honey Badger. And are you a Patriot fan, by the way, or a different fan? I don't. Oh, I see an Oriole there. Can I assume you're a Raven fan? I think they may be showcasing Zappy to maybe listen. If they trade him, what are they going to get? A 7th round draft pick? They're not getting anything for him. So there's a very good chance he gets released. They could re-sign him for the practice squad. Remember, they cut Zappy in training camp last year and re-signed him after nobody claimed him. So who wants him is the question. But I'm curious, Honey Badger. Oh, it's Anthony. You snake. I see you down there. Should I look for you as Honey Badger for good from now on, or will you also come in as Anthony Price? Carlos, by the way, the Mad New Yorker used to do this to me all the time. He'd come in there or assume names. Chris, let's throw some marbles into the mix and get right bonkers here. Bobby Higginson. Bobby Higginson had a couple of productive major league seasons. I don't remember him as being particularly well-rounded ball player, but he had some pop. 54 years old though, man. That seems old for him. But then I got to remember I'm 64. So if I'm watching these guys when I was, 34, they were in their, he was 24, right? So see how I did that math? Bing, 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 bing. Sharp as a tack this morning. Good point, Drew. Dobbs could use his legs and he could improvise a bit, right? So how much? I think a lot of that, and again, I'm not trying to say that maybe. Listen, I think O'Connell's a great coach. O'Connell's a great coach. I've said that many, many times. He learned a lot in the Patriots system about playing quarterback without ever playing quarterback because he played behind one of the best of all time. And he coached under some really good head coaches before he took this job. I like him a lot. I like what he can do. I like what he got out of Kirk Cousins. But Drew's right about this. I mean, a lot of his success, if I remember, and I wasn't watching every play, Rick, to be quite honest with you, but, being out and about, they would have those games on somewhere else, and I would watch some of that offense, and a lot of it was improvised, and Darnold's not going to be able to do that. When he and Dobbs came in there without knowing the playbook, and I think he just went out there, and they were drawing stuff up in the sand. So, listen, your head coach is a really, really good coach. I give you that 100%. I'm not belittling him. Oh, my God. We had a fun little party yesterday, by the way, and I ate and drank way too much. I wish I could find that picture to show you guys. I think I can find it on my phone. If I show this to you. Hold on. Let's see if it'll come up or not. Can you see this picture? It's not going to come because of the light. The light's going to make it really bad, right? I can't quite get. I'm going to try to find it on my. Oh, you can see. Does that not look like a guy having fun? I can't. It's too much light. Oh my God. Let me see if it came up on my. So anyway, Darnold's not going to be nearly as mobile and be able to kind of, when plays break down, Sam Darnold breaks down. It's that simple. Now, if they can devise let me see if this, crap. Let's see. Hold on. Nah, didn't get on my phone. Let me just try this. Nah. All right. Anyway, you probably got a little idea of how my face looked in that picture. So yes, I agree, Drew, 100%. But I'm really not taking anything away from the head coach. I like him a lot. And if they win, if this team does win, and the thing is, here's the thing, Rick. Everybody in that division has gotten better. Green Bay, we know what they did last year. If Jordan Love continues to progress, they're going to be better. But Jacobs coming in there, if he can, a change of scenery helps him, they're going to be really good. We know what the Lions can do. They're better on defense. They're going to be tough. And I'm going to tell you right now, I know it's exhibition season. The Bears have got a lot of energy and a lot of excitement around that team. There are some really good weapons. Caleb Williams only has to be good, not great. Roma Dunez is going to be a game changer. They've got Keenan Allen, still one of the best wide receivers in football when he's healthy. Their defense is good. If you haven't, you probably haven't. I mean, you got to pay for hard HBO, and I don't know why I'm still paying $16.99 a month, but I am, because there's a lot of good stuff I watch on Max. But Hard Knocks, you can't help but be impressed with this Bears team when you watch them practice and you watch the enthusiasm in camp and you watch what these young kids have brought to this roster. And they played well in the exhibition season so far. Again, their exhibition season, and they could get off to an 0-6 start. Bears will be better than last year. And they finished on a 6-game winning streak, don't forget. I think they get to 8-9. I think they finished that. I'm not positive. Maybe it was 7-10. But don't discount that Bears. It's going to be a tough division, I think, Rick, and that's one of the reasons I think it'll be very tough. Now, if they can figure this out and compete, it's going to be because you've got such a good head coach. So Anthony did just change his name. You still need, I didn't do yours yet. Oh, there's your, you know why? Because I tried to do it on my phone. I'll get in there. Don't worry, Drew. I'll be in. Don't worry. I got to go in and set up the ones for TGI Sports Talk, and that's when I'll do yours. I promise you. Every time I sit down to do it, I get distracted. I have become one of the world's great procrastinators. Really have. So I will. I promise you. You can keep me. Don't worry. I'm going to be in it. You don't need to worry. After seeing some of these preseason games, I noticed starting quarterbacks don't have good backups. Yeah, it's a good point, right? And there's been a long while that the depth at the quarterback position is not that good, Anthony. I mean, who was your backup to Jackson? Hundley? I don't know who it was last year. I think it was. I don't know who it's going to be this year. There's a big drop off in most places. There's a few decent backups in the league, and Minshew is a good backup. Not going to be a good starter. But we've said this forever. Again, one of the reasons I said Kaepernick, if he could play, would be in the league is the fact that there's so many bad quarterbacks on rosters in the NFL. So, Paul likes Dobbs. He's probably not even going to be on a roster. Where is he? Can I tell where he is this year? Played 4 seasons, 4 teams, going to the Cardinals. I don't know that he's in a camp. Let me look for news from Joshua Dobbs. News. That's from last year. Josh Dobbs. I don't know if he's in a camp. He's with the 49ers. He signed in April with the 49ers. I'll assume he hasn't been cut yet. He signed a 1-year deal with the 49ers. Yes, I did all that without my calculator. I got one right here in my brain, Rick. As long as we don't get past 2 times 2, I'm doing pretty good. Fantasy baseball, I'm getting hammered. By the way, so I've only got 2 leagues. I don't know why. This one league I got in, Greg Rawlings got me in 2 leagues. One was a fairly inexpensive league. It was like I don't know, $5 entry fee or something. And the other was a $50 one. But that $5 league ended like 3 weeks ago. I don't know how many teams made the play. I finished last. I got virtually the same record I had in yours, Drew. But in the other one, which was a $50 entry in Greg's league, I'm like 2 games out of the playoffs, but I'm 8-1 this week. And I got to believe the playoffs start soon. There's no way. My playoff run in your league is done. True. So Rick's beating the crap out of me 15-4, which I pretty much just explained. Most of the pitching categories already sewn up, although 4 of the hitting categories are still for grabs. That's not going to help me a lot. It's always hard to win a week when both your hitters and pitchers tank, for sure. You didn't mention your score, though, Rick. Drew. Did you? I haven't reached out to Byron. Great guy, Byron Williams, and I'm sure I can get him on the show. There's some, I don't know. There seems to be some issue with Byron and National Streaming Sports. I don't know. So hopefully he comes back there. I enjoy interacting with Byron and Jim Jeffcoat, who I messaged and talked to around my birthday and then before. He said he'll be back soon. We'll see. But we'll get Byron on. Maybe we'll bring him on. Maybe I'll talk to Byron and see if he can pop in next Sunday for a few minutes to kind of talk about that. And basically the issue is going to be, it's one simple take, right? That the Players Union today, the NFL Players Association, does not care about guys like Mike Bass. And I will tell you, Rick, that Mike Bass isn't the only one. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm going to say only this, that he's not the only ex-NFL player that I've interviewed that has told me this. Delvin Williams told me the same thing, interview I did with him about a year ago, a little over a year ago. He's been suing the NFL for many number of years. And I think the NFL Players Association might be a part of that suit. I'm not positive, so I don't want to make that an absolute. But I know that he feels they don't care about players who no longer are playing. And Byron, and again, today, and Byron may have a different take and say he does care in his chapter. Now, Byron's not, he's the president of a chapter of the NFL Players Association, and I'm sure he has some sway within the larger NFL Players Association. But what Mike Bass said is not incorrect, by the way. Gene Upshaw, when he was in charge of and he's gone now. In fact, he's passed on, I believe. And if you haven't, I apologize, Gene. I think you have. So rest in peace. Gene Upshaw literally did say, I don't represent players that are retired. I represent players that are playing. He said that. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting. But again, we'll try to get to that. And if Byron gets back to you, tell him I'd love to have him on. I haven't reached out to him, quite frankly. But I do plan to. I would love to get his take, even have him on for 10 minutes to refute that. I'm not taking a side. I'm just, what am I doing? I'm just reporting what I'm told. And so I got 2 NFL players who feel that way, ex-NFL players who feel that way, especially ones that have retired with disabilities. And I'm sure there's more. And we know what Gene Upshaw said. Now, that was quite a few years ago that Gene Upshaw made that quote. So I'd love to get that feedback. It's Tiger time. Tiger Woods red Sunday. I didn't wear my red today. Not golf related at all. Stanford quarterbacks Ashton Daniels and Justin Lamson love it. They love what? Sunday. Sunday red. They both. Well, they ought to love it. They're wearing red a lot at Stanford. I had my red on yesterday, so I didn't put red on today. So it was Radder Day. Redder Day yesterday for me. Oh, God. Rick's talking about Kaepernick. I knew if I brought Kaepernick's name in the conversation, this would come up. Harbaugh didn't necessarily change his mind, Rick. He did say, you're not bringing in a new coach now. You're about ready to start the season, right? Very few teams are going to bring in coaches, especially to work with quarterbacks at this point in the season. He did not rule out that he could have Kaepernick on his staff next year. In fact, that last thing he said was, I believe Kaepernick will not be on the staff before next year. So I don't care if he's on the staff. What's the big deal if he's on the staff or not? I don't. Listen, just because he can't play, and again, my stance on Kaepernick has not changed. The only reason he never got back in the NFL is because he can't play. I will never change that attitude. And I'm not going to sit here and again, it kind of belies my some of my the people on my side of the political aisle. I don't care I don't care. I'm not going to stop somebody from getting a job if they can do it well. If he's getting a job just because he's getting a job, I don't go for that. But maybe he's got something to offer. And just because he can't play doesn't mean he won't be a good coach. I mean, believe me, more bad players or mediocre players have been good coaches than great players. I can tell you that for a fact. So, Josh Johnson. Well, there you go. Josh Johnson now Jackson's a backup. Perfectly illustrates the point Anthony made, and I backed up. A lot of the backups in this league are atrocious. Atrocious. And Josh Johnson fits that bill. I'm sorry, Josh Johnson fans, but that's true. I'm sure that partly prompted Anthony's comment. Drew's losing 7-12 against the number 5 manager. Apparently, my hitters are taking batting instructions from mine. You don't want to do that. I don't know. I continue to think I have a good team, and I have, half of it goes out and underperforms every freaking week. Oh my God. I thought that was a Bobby Hamilton wishes me a happy birthday. I think that's the Bobby Hamilton was finally a by the way, everybody out there who wished me a happy birthday, thank you so much. Whether you're family, friends, Facebook friends, whatever it might be, it's greatly appreciated. I was overwhelmed with with the response I got. I don't think this is the Bobby Hamilton that played with the Patriots, so we'd love to get him on. We'd love to get any ex-Patriots on the one-on-one show. Keep those comments coming, guys. We got 37 minutes. We're going to start trying to get this down to 10:30. We did a great job last week. 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 57 seconds. I was able to reshare the show on Roku at midnight and a couple times during the week. Midnight that night and a couple other times during the week on Roku. So, who shares a birthday with me? Upshot died in 2008. Well, there you go. So these comments had to be pretty old. So again, the Players Association may feel differently. It doesn't sound like Mike thought so. It didn't sound like Delvin Williams thought so when I talked to him last year. But again, these comments from Gene Upshaw had to be obviously at least 16 years old, if not more. Yeah, I thought Upshaw had passed quite a while ago. Who shares a birthday with me? Let me know. Cap can run the HR department for the Bulls. Actually, that's kind of funny. I'm gonna have to spark a little more conversation maybe for the next 30 minutes. I don't know. Just a couple of things we haven't talked about yet. Well, let me put this up here. Only 20 more. I wish I was 420. I wish I was 44 and had the experience that I have today. Actually, it's funny. I love my 60s. I have loved my 60s. There's a couple things medically that haven't been the best, but I've loved my 60s so far. Unfortunately, sometimes my mind still says I am 44 or 34, and I try to do things that I shouldn't. Spend too much time up on ladders, I can tell you that. My wife really gets mad at me, but it is what it is. A couple other topics, guys. And listen, you're so free to bring up whatever you want to bring up. I know Danny had mentioned he doesn't think Ohtani can get 50-50. As of Friday, he was on a 49-47 pace. I'd love to talk about Judge. And where do you think Aaron Judge, again, he hit his 300th homer, fastest man in games played ever to 300. Faster than Barry Bonds. Faster than Babe Ruth. Faster than Aaron. But I can tell you every one of them was younger than 32 years old. Soon to be 33 before or shortly after the season starts next year, I believe. Judge will be 33, if I'm not mistaken. He'd have to average, to get to just, let's just say his contract runs, I think, 7 more years. Take him to 40. If he averaged 50 home runs, well, that's 650 home runs. The chances are not good that Aaron Judge is going to average 650 home runs the next 7 years. First of all, that's an astonishing number to average over any period of time for anybody, much less a guy in his mid-30s and then late 30s. Aaron Judge has had injury issues at different times. Now, this is to begrudge Aaron Judge. He's a great player. He will be a Hall of Fame player because he will be over 500 home runs. I think realistically, 550 to 600. 600 is doable. And he may play past this contract. I'm not saying he's going to retire at 40. But I think averaging, anywhere near 50 is really a bit of a stretch. I mean, if he goes 40 average over those 7 years, which is still pretty aggressive in my mind, that's going to be what, 320 home runs? No, is that right? No, that's not right. 40 home runs times 7, 280 home runs. Look at that. See how I did that? 580. Now, he might keep playing past 40. There's no way he's getting to 700. Drew mentioned DeGrom coming back. I think it's too late for the Rangers. We haven't seen Allen in a bit. But I think the Rangers are done. I don't think DeGrom coming back, Scherzer coming back, Evan Carter plays up to his potential when he comes back, or if all these guys, again, remember, they've had a lot of down seasons. For some reason, Adolis Garcia decided to change his entire swing this year. Can't wait to get Jeff Fry on, former Major League Baseball player, because if you check out his post, every day he's ripping the way these guys are learning how we play the game, by the way, and some of the hitting instructions these guys are getting. He changed his entire swing, and he hasn't been good. So if Young comes back, everybody could come back and perform to their expected level of production. Are they overcoming an 11.5 game deficit in the West, or a 12.5 game deficit in the wild card with less than 40 games to play? I can't see it. Any comments on the rookie quarterbacks we haven't talked about today? Any comments? I don't want to get into that. I know we had a couple comments on that. Cut downs coming. We talked a little. There's something in baseball I thought I had. Anyway, we'll find something if we have to. We'll find something to fill these last 30 minutes. But we got some more comments up here now. Largest division lead in baseball is the Brewers, 10-game lead over the Cardinals. There's a couple races, right? I think that are going to, and again, there's still, I don't know who I was talking to. I don't know who I had on. That there wasn't an emphasis on really caring about winning the division. Probably one of the Mac and Jack shows. You should, because the wild card round is not easy for that team that's got to go play 3 games on the road. I'd want to win a division. You're going to have an exciting race in the American League East. You're going to have an exciting race in the American League West. You'll probably have an exciting race in the Central. Probably the National League West is going to be exciting now. Only a 2-game lead for the Dodgers. The Central and the East and the West, the NL East and Central are probably the only divisions that are wrapped up. And I do think there's still value in winning divisions. So I hope that these guys will take that seriously and try to win. I want the Yankees to win a division, not have to play in this wild card round. When Dale Murphy played for the Braves, by the way, Dale Murphy should be in a Hall of Fame, just an FYI, back-to-back MVPs. One thing we don't take into consideration, I thought about this after my exchanges with Drew and with Rick a little bit about great players, right? We were trying to determine, again, it's so subjective, the top 5 players in Major League Baseball history. Got me thinking more about some of the guys that I prompted to be in the Hall of Fame and guys I say shouldn't be there. Too many times I think longevity gets you there. If you were at the top of your game for an extended period of time, 5 years, if you're the best player in the league for 5 years, one of the best players, you got to take that in consideration and not say, well, he played great for 10 years and he petered out. Guys like Dale Murphy, Don Mattingly were at the top of their profession for an extended period of time, yet get very little consideration for the Hall of Fame. Dale Murphy should be in the Hall of Fame. I thought about this because a good friend of this show, also an interviewee in the show, former Major League Baseball player with the Reds and Braves, Darryl Cheney, brought this up, that Dale belongs in the Hall of Fame. Anyway, to Chris's point, when Dale Murphy played with the Braves, he used to write a weekly Sunday column called Ask Dale Anything. The article was a competition for youth to respond and win a sports scholarship. Great idea. Great idea. Dale Murphy was an exceptional person as well as an exceptional baseball player. Started out as a catcher, couldn't throw the ball to the pitcher, couldn't throw the ball anywhere. Played some first base. Then he became a Gold Glove center fielder. Dale Murphy needs some serious consideration from the Veterans Committee or whatever we call them these days about being in the Hall of Fame. So anyway, that's a great point. Anyway, Chris, and more players should look to do these things, right? That's why the Dale Murphys of the world stand out to me as exceptional role models. And I don't, Charles Barkley says, I ain't nobody's role model. Well, players are, or should be, or at least make an attempt. Mariners losing 5 in a row. The Rangers 3 in a row, and 2-8 and the last 10 are fading badly just as the Astros launch into space. Can't wait to see what happens when the injured. Listen, this Astros team, I said early on, Drew, and I'm sure you remember during the Major League Baseball update shows and this show back in April, May, when the Astros were doing horrendous, that the Mariners and Rangers need to put them out of their misery now and put some great distance between them and the Astros. And they never did it. And the result is the Astros are a really good, well-run organization. They've got a great next man up mentality, which has kept them not just alive, but rejuvenated their season. When that's with some not great years either by some key players and key injuries. Kyle Tucker out for a while, pitching injuries everywhere. And But this is a team that knows how to win. They know it's a long season. They don't panic. And they will be a tough out in the postseason. For sure. Your much maligned A's have caught the Angels to avoid last in the AL West. Give it time. I feel really bad for Ron Washington, who's really a great baseball man. Did some really good things with the Rangers in the early 2000s, and but for Kevin Freese would have won a World Series. I think his name was Kevin Freese, right? Is it Kevin? I could have it wrong. Drew will fix me. And Ron Washington's a really good baseball man. Potentially had some issues, but overcame them. And people want them on they wanted him to be on their staffs. He's really knows his stuff. Was on Tony La Russa's staffs in Washington, and he recently returned to Atlanta and was just warmly embraced by all the players and Schnitker. Some rumors about him leaving, by the way. Schnitker, maybe Washington should have stayed a while. He might have got that job. But I feel really bad for Ron Washington and being stuck with the type of team and organization that he's stuck with. The A's are another team that just don't seem to want to get any better. I mean, they did hold on to make some of their top better players I use that term lightly, at the trade deadline. Remember, they're going to Sacramento for at least 3 years, if not 4 years, if not longer. They haven't even got the funding secured for the stadium in LA. They could be playing here for half a decade in Sacramento, in a minor league stadium, which befits this team, by the way. And I have berated the A's for a long time, to Drew's point, and they have been my team with the loss record watch more often than not in the last couple of years, or since I started these shows. But now they got the White Sox, who I think are, I shouldn't say guaranteed. You go on a 5-game winning streak, and all of a sudden you're not on a pace to lose 121 games anymore. But right now it's 123. They did shave one game off of that since we last talked about this on Friday. 38 games to go. How many losses do they have right now? Let's talk about that for 1 second. I love this. It's only 27 more losses in 38 games. That's 11 and 27. That's a much better record than they have now. Till now. As bad as it is. By 38. That's a 289 winning percentage. That's adding 40 points, 45 points to their winning percentage now. Well within reach for sure. And the A's, again, what's going to happen when they go to I don't know. Maybe they'll be better. They're playing a smaller ballpark. Maybe some excitement will be there. There'll be people that actually want to root for them. Jordan Daniels has looked good. Caleb Williams made some tremendous plays yesterday. And again, I know it's exhibition, the exhibition season. But he scored he threw a touchdown pass. He should have had 2 touchdown passes. He scrambled and found Adunez in the back of the end zone, but he had positioned himself badly and he was standing out of bounds. He rolled out of the pocket away from pressure the wrong way. I shouldn't say the wrong way. To his left rather than his right. It's harder to throw going to your left than it is to your right when you're righty, obviously. And he makes a throw that was tremendous, 43 yards down the field. So Williams and Daniels are playing well. Again, they're playing more. They both play Williams played a half. I think Daniels played a half yesterday. You'll probably see them play a bit more this week. At least come out after the halftime and maybe play a series or two. And then you probably won't see them in the last game. I would play these guys as many downs as I could. These rookie quarterbacks, especially, I would get them as many snaps in the preseason as I could. I don't care that injuries happen. J.J. McCarthy got hurt. J.J. McCarthy could have gone through the preseason unscathed, won the starting job, and been out in 2 series in the first game. Injuries are going to happen or they're not going to happen. You can't protect them. Nobody's got a crystal ball saying the guy's going to get hurt today and not tomorrow. Play these guys so they are ready to play. I don't want to see bad football. And you're ready. You're going to see lots of bad football in September, by the way. You got quarterbacks who aren't going to play at all. They haven't played at all yet, and they're not going to play the entire preseason. Rodgers isn't going to play at all. But yes, both Daniels and Williams have played much better for the team formerly known as the Redskins. I'm not sure what that name is that Drew put up there. Kidding. And that's for you, Anthony. You might have a quarterback. Just not happy with your choice of a coach. I'd been much happier if you picked the guy with offensive experience that would help this quarterback in his growth. That's what I think they should have done. But that's okay. I mean, you may make a Super Bowl and blow a 28-3 lead with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Bobby Witt has somehow managed to get even better as the season winds on. 351 to Judge's 332. Judge is still, if I'm not mistaken, Drew, alive for the. I mean, I know 19 points is a lot in batting average with 37 to go, but you go into a 1 for 20 and you're going to lose at least 20 points off your batting average, right? So Judge is still alive for the Triple Crown here. He leads in RBIs, a pretty healthy lead of 11. His home runs, I think he's got a pretty hefty lead in home runs by 8 over Santander. So Judge still alive. 19 is a lot to make up in batting average, but still possible, and a possible Triple Crown campaign possible for Judge. He's going to win the MVP unless he gets hurt or Soto goes on a tear. The only way I see this possibly happening where Soto wins is if they flip-flop in the order and Judge keeps walking in front of Soto and Soto just keeps having 3-run home run games. Soto's been great. We knew he's going to hit, though, right? I'm not sure whether they're going to sign him or not. I am curious, Drew, specifically to you, your thought. Judges, again, let me just double-check my math here. I believe 32 years old. Yes, he'll be 33 shortly after the season starts next year. What is a realistic number for home run? I say 550 to 600 is 600 is in reach. It depending on injury, but people who think he's getting to 650, passing A-Rod. The New York Post even had an article about how here's the path to beating Bonds. They're coming close. That's 460 more home runs. There's no way that's happening. No way. So, anyway. Anyway, Bobby Witt's a great player. Going back to Bobby Witt. Tremendous, tremendous player. One of the guys I love to watch play. It's Tiger time. Didn't we already do this? Am I? So, did you repost that? Or am I losing my mind? No, that's not true. Well, we don't know. I don't know when the steroid era started, but Dale Murphy played in the 80s. His heyday was, early 80s to late 80s. Dale played well before the steroid era, at least the one we recognize, which didn't start till the mid to late 90s. When you think about McGuire and Sosa and Bonds. And again, Bonds did it for stupid reasons. Bonds was a great player, already a Hall of Fame player, and he was just jealous of McGuire and Sosa's the attention given to them. So he said, fine, I'll do it too. So, and again, by the way, even if there was steroids, I do not believe. Look at Dale Murphy's body. He was not using steroids, by the way. I mean, put Dale Murphy next to Sammy Sosa and McGuire and Bonds during their steroid years, and you tell me Dale ever used steroids. I don't know if you're saying that. But it's not the steroid stigma that's kept Dale Murphy out of the Hall of Fame. People who don't understand the games kept him out of here. Space City, I'm not sure where we are there, but I'm with you. 14 minutes left in the show. Now we got a lot of comments, so we got to get through here. Several notable writers who have played baseball. Miguel Bautista. I remember Bautista playing. The late Dan Quisenberry, great player. We got a lot of great comments or conversation about Quiz. We've had a bunch of Royals that played with Quisenberry on the one-on-one interview show of late. But Buddy Biancalana, Jim Sundberg, Brett Saberhagen, great player. Right now, I cannot think of more. If you're talking about who were writers during their careers, like Murphy, you mentioned, a lot of players have been writers. One thing I'll talk to you about, Tim Green, who's suffering with ALS now, great player at Syracuse, played in the NFL with the Falcons. He became a pretty prolific writer, writing fiction. But most of them were interesting stories surrounding the NFL, gambling in the NFL, steroids, and professional football. They were fiction. They were not written in any way, as replacing. I'm sure there were people in these books that the characters might have been based on people he played with, but he wrote a lot of different books and some really good stuff. Check out Tim Green's stuff, and we hope Tim Green is still doing well. I know he's suffering with ALS and not in good shape right now. Would love to have him available for the one-on-one. Great player at Syracuse. Astros, scariest team in MLB today. I don't disagree. Playing great baseball. 14 teams have ERAs under 4, which include their bullpens. That's good. That's the way it ought to be. By the way, we don't need to change that. We don't need to give hitters more advantages. Not saying you're saying that, Drew. Just making my normal pleas here. And that's without the banging of trash cans. See, I'm not going to get excited about that, Danny. I know you as a Dodger fan probably are. I don't remember. We had this conversation. I still will say it's one of the most, and again, I don't want to, here I am. I'm going to elicit a big conversation with 10 minutes left in the show. But I still say that's one of the most overrated scandals in the history of sports. If it wasn't the Dodgers and Yankees involved, I don't think it would have been as big a deal. And for Brian Cashman, Dodgers can complain. I don't really know as much about how it affected that World Series. I really don't recall. I just don't. But I know I remember very well the LCS, and the Yankees didn't score any runs, which stealing signs had nothing to do with you scoring no runs. So just saying. Ron Washington has cat lives. Leave it at that. Ron Washington is a long time. He's a good baseball man. He knows the game inside and out. And there's a reason teams want him to be around. So I know there are some people that want to run Ron Washington down a bit, but listen, he took a Ranger team to a World Series and never been there. And if it was for Freeze, he probably wins one. When you watch your favorite teams, have you seen many celebrities at the games of late? A lot of classic celebrity fans are really getting up in age now. I mean, it depends, Celebrities are very fair weather fans. I mean, at the Knick games, you saw lots of celebrities this year because they're doing well. Spike Lee disappears sometimes when they're not doing well. Alec Baldwin, big fan. Ben Stiller. There's those are tons. I could keep going if I thought about this a little bit longer, but I think celebrity fans tend to be a bit fair weather, right? Dodgers for years in the 70s when they were really good. Sinatra's at the ballpark all the time. Don Rickles. Younger guys may not know who I'm talking about, but I think most of my followers will. So anyway, I think celebrities tend to be fair weather fans. Verlander back soon for the Astros, among other pitchers. CA. So I think that, as to Danny's point, I think the Astros are one of the scariest teams. They'll be a tough out come playoff time. No, I don't think they trade that. Who'd they trade for? Rosarina, who again, he's hitting better than he was when he was with the Rays, but I mean that's not saying a lot. Redskins on the up. At least the team formerly known as the Redskins. I'll get myself kicked off Facebook if I do it well enough. Whoops, what happened here? Xavier Worthy may be finally the Tyreek replacement the Chiefs have been looking for. I loved Worthy out of Texas. He's a burner. He too many teams passed him over. Dallas had a couple shots at him, I believe, either with their own picks or moving up to get him. Passed on him. A bunch of teams did. I like Xavier Worthy a lot. Talked about it draft night on the National Streaming Sports Draft Show. Guy to watch out for this year for sure. And by the way, Tyreek Hill never made that. Did they really need Tyreek Hill? I'm pretty sure they won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. I'm just saying. I said for years it was Kelsey that made this team go, not Tyreek Hill. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying he's not. I think the Chiefs have done pretty well. I believe they won back-to-back Super Bowls, and one of them was without Tyreek Hill. God, can I keep doing that? Williams and Fields ran for touchdowns too. He looks pretty good. Let's wait for the regular season. Oh, I don't disagree, Mac. Again, I always qualify my comments with the fact that, you know, this is preseason and we have to get not too excited. Don't give me, AC's in here now. So don't, AC, we're going to be wrapping it up here in 6.5 minutes. Well, 7 minutes. Because I want to get this under 2 hours. We got to start getting under 2 hours, and so I can reshare the show. And come football season, I got to be out of here. Fields and Wilson, neither one of them looked great yesterday. The Steelers have got a big problem. And as we wrap up, what's Keith up to today? Sunday food, and what are you watching today? Probably watch the Yankees a bit. I might watch a little of the preseason football tonight. Cowboys and somebody are playing later. There's 2 games tonight. They're both at 8. We'll watch a little bit of that. Probably watch a little bit of golf. I got to run down and get my shoes. I got delivered to my old address, and we're going to stop to Junior's for a little lunch this afternoon. So that covers all those bases. Broncos don't look as if they're proving over last year's debacle. Listen, I think Bo Nix is the guy. I know it's a place where Mac and I disagree. He thinks Caleb Williams is going to be a bust. I think Bo Nix will be a bust. Just saying. Steroids was irrelevant in the 60s and 70s. No, just not as public or as prevalent. It wasn't as prevalent either. It was rampant. It was rampant in the 2000s, early 2000s, from the late 90s to the early 2000s, through the 2000s probably. It was rampant. There's no way it was as prevalent. You know, I didn't say it didn't exist. And by the way, they had other performance-enhancing drugs. Randy Lurch, who was on the one-on-one show recently, talked about in his book. Jim Bouton talked about it in Ball 4, that every clubhouse had greenies there like they were M&Ms. That's also performance-enhancing, by the way. not just steroids. Daly nor Herner, I don't think, no. Bob Horner didn't use steroids, that's for sure. At times, Bob Horner would go up and down. He'd look like me out there sometimes at third base, other than like the performance. Sorry, I missed most of the show. No problem, AC. Just can't seem to wake up on the weekends. That's no problem. We're glad to have you for even the last 5 minutes of this show. We got actually under 5 minutes now. I'll rewatch later because I love the show. AC, I'm glad you love the show. I'm glad that you have been such a great contributor. So if you're not following, I know we're your friends on the personal page. Make sure you go to TGI Sports Talk, and if you click follow, you should get notifications when the shows are starting. Even Judge reaching 600 might be a stretch. I agree. That's why I said, Ken, averaging 50 home runs over a 6-year stretch, and I believe he's got 7 left on his contract, if I'm not mistaken, after this year. Averaging 50 home runs over a 6-year stretch at healthy at any age is a tall task, right? Lakers celebrity still big time. Yes, I will say that. We don't see Nicholson, but he's also probably like 100 years old now. Chiefs not hurting with the loss of Hill. Agreed. I think they won a Super Bowl. Is it 2? Maybe there was the last 2. That's a great point. Is it 2 years he's been gone? Then I'm wrong. They won back-to-back Super Bowls. Don't sleep on the Bills. I've kind of said the demise of the Bills is a little bit exaggerated. But the Bills still got this big hump to get over, and it's called the Kansas City Chiefs. AC, I hope you're correct, but on paper, not looking great. Paper, that's the problem. We don't play games on paper. As long as Josh Allen's your quarterback, you're going to win some games. How are we doing here? We're still good. What do you got here? Nick's, but you like me and Paul Spada, not on a page today. Same page today. He could be great. Again, we don't know. Nobody knows who's going to be great, who's not. Tom Brady, totally overlooked, right? Think he's a GOAT. I'll always love Delmonico's. Chickens, the chicken Sinatra is my go-to at Delmonico's, Rick. CA, have a great weekend yourself. We got a couple of minutes, and we're going to have to wrap it up. John Gonzalez pops in from the sports authorities, and he's not going to retire. I mentioned, John, get out there and join the sports authorities. I know Drew joined, and he's been a big contributor over there, and John does some great stuff. And we're going to be wrapping it up here, John, but I'll try to, because I only got about 2 minutes. Started hearing Tom Brady. Let's be clear. Tom Brady's not unretiring. Tom Brady can't unretire just like this and go play because he's got to divest himself. He's an owner. He's a part owner of the Raiders. He can't just go play for another team. Plus, he's got a contract with Fox that they're going to start paying him $75 million a year. Whatever it is. And I think, no, $75 million a year. Am I not right? I think that's right. Sounds wrong. Whatever they're paying him. Doesn't matter. He can't just go stop and say, tomorrow I'm going to go play for the Vikings or any team because he's part owner of the Raiders. Doesn't work that way. So, quick rundown for the shows this week in times. I can do that in a minute and a half, and then we're going to wrap it up. So this show will repeat, blah, blah, blah. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, to College Football Huddle. Friday, one-on-one show with Keith Engle. We'll have Sidney Moncrief, former Arkansas Razorback, and Milwaukee Buck on at 9 a.m. Eastern. The MLB update at 3 p.m. Eastern. And the Sunday Stream of Consciousness next week at 8:30 a.m. And on Friday and Sunday, 8 to 8:30, I am on with Mac and Jack on their show and the Big Football Show on Sunday. So it's been a great, great day today again, guys. You guys do it for me every week. Thank you so much. You guys have a great Sunday. I got to wrap it up. And you guys have been tremendous as always. Have a great Sunday. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talks, Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.